Let me read you the exact words that the sheriff put on the record. During an interview with the Daily Mail on Sunday, he stated explicitly, and this is a direct quote, that absolutely nobody has been ruled out as a suspect yet. Yet by Monday, he released an official press statement declaring something quite different, claiming the family, quote, has been fully cleared of any suspicion. On February 16th, Pima County Sheriff Chris Nanos stepped up to the microphones and told the press, I am repeating his exact phrasing here, the Guthrie family is no longer considered possible suspects. Cleared. Finished. End of story. However, 11 days past that announcement, the vehicle Tommaso drove Nancy Guthrie home in on the night she vanished remains locked up in a forensic evidence yard. If he is truly off the hook, why are they still holding his vehicle? And honestly, that isn't even the detail that had me tossing and turning all night long. While the sheriff was busy shouting exoneration, another voice was telling a completely different story. And she has been incredibly consistent with her narrative. The final ride home occurred on January 31st, 2026. It was a Saturday night for Nancy Guthrie, a sharp and independent 84-year-old living solo in the Catalina foothills right outside Tucson, Arizona. She enjoys a dinner out with her oldest daughter, Annie. Joining them is Annie's husband, Tommaso. Nancy didn't drive herself to the restaurant. She took a ride share. Once the meal concludes, Tommaso gives her a lift back to her place. The Pima County Sheriff states that Cioni waited until Nancy was securely inside before he drove away. Her garage door shut tight at 9:50 in the evening. That stands as the final verified second that anyone can place Nancy Guthrie in the land of the living. After that, there is just silence for hours. Absolute silence. At exactly 1:47 in the morning on February 1st, Nancy's Google Nest doorbell camera goes offline. 25 minutes pass before the sensor picks up movement. Since the account lacked a paid subscription, however, the system failed to record any actual footage of the event. Her heart monitor app registered a disconnect from her smartphone at 2:28 in the morning. Then comes 11 o'clock. By Sunday, February 1st, Nancy fails to log on for a church live stream with her friend, a ritual she never missed. Her family gets notified immediately. They rush over to check on her well-being. They pull up around noon. They discover her vehicle, phone, wallet, hearing aid, and daily medicine. Everything essential for life is there. Yet Nancy is gone. The Pima County Sheriff's Department receives a call at roughly 12 o'clock. Deputies get to the scene at 12:15 in the afternoon. Within a few short hours, a simple welfare check transforms into something much more sinister. It becomes an active crime scene, a full criminal probe, and eventually a kidnapping case. Detectives located blood near the entryway of her residence, which lab tests confirmed belonged to Nancy. Essential items were abandoned in a manner proving she didn't leave that house voluntarily, and the last confirmed person to see Nancy Guthrie alive was Tommaso. On day 3, Banfield drops a massive bombshell. It is February 3rd, just the third day of the inquiry. The trail is barely cold. Figuratively speaking, this hasn't even been a criminal case for 48 hours. Yet Ashley Banfield is already launching heavy accusations. Banfield, a seasoned TV journalist and former anchor for CNN and News Nation, takes to the microphone on her podcast, Drop Dead Serious, delivering a statement that brings the entire true crime community to a sudden halt. She declared that nobody has been exonerated. Everybody remains a suspect. Therefore, it is perfectly standard to begin where all police work begins, which is with the immediate family, and expand outward. That is exactly what is happening here. You would follow that protocol even if your police contact hadn't whispered that the brother-in-law might be the top suspect. Asking tough questions about the relatives is not out of line. It is absolutely vital. Now, listen to the sheriff's own words on this recording labeled ST19B. No one is ruled out, but we simply lack sufficient evidence to point a finger and say this is our suspect. We can't say this is our guy, or our gal, definitively. We simply do not know yet. It is frankly irresponsible to label someone a suspect when there is a strong chance they are actually a victim. I am telling you, and I am addressing the media directly, I am begging you to exercise caution with what gets published because we have not listed anyone as a suspect. You could harm the investigation, but you could also destroy that individual's life. Social media can truly be a vicious place at times. Alright, so, Ashley, do you still stand by the exclusive scoop you broke 2 days ago? Now that the top cop has gone on record? Oh yeah, very early on. A total mystery. Okay, your rock-solid source indicated that Tommaso, husband to Savannah's sister Annie Guthrie, could be the primary suspect right now, adding that the seized vehicle was actually Annie's car. Correct. The specific phrasing was towed and taken into evidence. I did notice that particular detail was officially verified yesterday. The car was hauled off and is undergoing forensic processing per the warrant. The sheriff kind of admitted that, well, she asserts a highly respected police source with first-hand insight into the case told her Tommaso might be the prime suspect. Not just a person of interest, but the main suspect on day 3. Banfield also disclosed that authorities had towed the dark Honda SUV belonging to Annie and Tommaso, impounding it for analysis. Regarding the car found at the residence, this is just standard police procedure. It falls under the search warrant, the scene protocols, and court orders. We haul the car out of that location and start processing the scene directly from the vehicle. The sheriff pushed back, stating they haven't officially tagged anyone as a suspect or person of interest yet. Pay attention to what's missing, because the statement never claims Banfield's report is fake or that Cheon is innocent. It never says the car was seized for reasons unrelated to Cheon. It only says no suspect has been publicly named. Saying you haven't named someone isn't the same as having no suspects, which brings us to the search on February 7th. Deputies from Pima County arrived at the home of Annie and Tommaso, staying on site for nearly 3 full hours. Cameras outside filmed officers leaving with items that Tracy Walder, a former federal agent, identified right away. She told People magazine the white case and brown bag were clearly standard kits used for collecting forensic evidence. NBC News confirmed the search was consensual, meaning the couple allowed officers inside without demanding a warrant. Police tried to downplay the event, framing it as just a standard procedure they follow for missing person cases. The family called it cooperation, but the internet saw it differently since it happened 4 days after Banfield named Cheon. Calling it routine feels odd when you arrive with evidence bags, search for 3 hours, and photograph a private home. Banfield stood firm, highlighting a detail most people missed when the sheriff cleared the family on February 16th. When asked later, she told Mediaite that her source never wavered, insisting every day that the original report was solid. Her insider never recanted, never admitted to being wrong, and certainly didn't walk back a single claim. That contact within law enforcement continued to view Cheon as the primary suspect in the investigation. This belief held firm even after the family was cleared, and the sheriff told the public to stop casting blame. I'm not saying her source is infallible, since we know informants can be wrong, have agendas, or misread events. But my point is that we have an insider with direct access to exactly what the investigators are uncovering. That source stood their ground even when the sheriff changed his tune, and that is a contradiction we can't ignore. Then Megyn Kelly entered the conversation to offer her perspective on the situation. The former Fox anchor used her massive Sirius XM platform to voice the suspicions many held but were too afraid to speak. She argued it would be negligent not to closely examine the last person who saw Nancy alive, plain and simple. Then she dropped a bombshell that set the internet ablaze, suggesting why police kept returning to that specific house. She suspects authorities keep going back because they are trying to determine if the couple played a role in this. She also questioned why police would interview the same neighbors repeatedly, unless they were building a case against someone. You have 2 major journalists on huge platforms independently pointing their fingers at the exact same individual. They are stating it publicly while the sheriff claims the opposite, so someone is definitely getting this wrong. Now consider the car on February 26th, which was day 27 of the search for Nancy Guthrie. Crime reporter Brianna Whitney revealed a detail that most mainstream news outlets seem to be overlooking. This concerns the vehicle Tommaso drove when he took Nancy Guthrie home the night she disappeared. That car remains in police custody for forensics, sitting in the evidence lot instead of being returned to its owners. When pressed, the Pima County Sheriff's Department merely stated that the vehicle remains part of the active inquiry. The family might be in the clear, but the car certainly isn't. Though police claim there are innocent reasons for that, it could still be in evidence because the suspect might have left something on the exterior or nearby. Authorities might be holding on to it simply because they want to be thorough and cover every single base. It might just be bureaucratic delays, but officials are refusing to answer the one question that truly matters. If Cheon is truly innocent and merely a victim in this tragedy, and if his family has been fully exonerated, then what is left to process, and what kind of evidence are they still hoping to find inside that vehicle? In May of 2025, 8 months before Nancy vanished, Tommaso signed a durable power of attorney. He appointed his wife Annie to handle his finances, and once that document hit social media, the internet went wild. Citizen journalist Street James Hartline weighed in on the discovery, offering 3 potential theories for the move. He suggested Cheon might have feared for his mental health, or perhaps he was planning to flee the country. Or maybe he expected legal trouble over property, though experts quickly countered those claims with valid points. Granting power of attorney is actually a very standard step when handling real estate transactions, particularly for real estate closings where one person cannot show up in the flesh. Here is my take. On its own, this paper is basically a burger with no meat, but context is the special sauce, and the reality is, a form granting Annie total control over Tommaso's life was inked 8 months before he became the most watched man in America. Read into that however you like, but keep your feet on the ground. It is unconfirmed, legally standard, yet wildly intriguing if you look at it sideways. There is another name that dominated the headlines during the first 3 weeks of this investigation: Dominic Evans. Evans plays bass for a local Tucson outfit known as Early Black, which just so happens to be the same group Tommaso Cioni jams with. And the moment the FBI dropped that grainy security tape showing the masked intruder and described him as standing roughly 5'9" or 10 with a medium build, the online sleuths immediately started connecting the dots. Evans matches that physical profile to a T. Some amateur detectives even juxtaposed a blurry mark on the suspect's wrist, with tattoos seen on Evans in his band photos. His history, including an old burglary rap, was dug up and splashed across the web in a matter of days. Evans gave an interview to the New York Times. He basically said, and I am summarizing here, that he felt like his identity had been hijacked. He and his wife described living like prisoners in their own house, keeping the lights killed, and telling their teenage son to stay far away. While looky-loos camped out on their lawn all night, Sheriff Nanos decided to address the rumors about Evans head-on. He stated that Evans ought to be lawyering up and thinking about suing anyone who dragged his name through the mud without proof. But here's the part that actually counts. Nanos announced the family was in the clear. He specifically named Annie. He specifically named Tommaso. He did not, and let me be crystal clear on this, he did not say Dominic Evans is off the hook. Evans has not been charged. Evans has not been put in cuffs. Evans has never been officially labeled a suspect or even a person of interest, and I am not implying he is guilty of anything. I am simply pointing out that his name floats in this case's orbit in a way the word cleared does not cover yet, and that is a nuance we need to clock. As for what cleared really means, let us hit pause and unpack that term. In the cop world, clearing a suspect usually boils down to a few scenarios: a rock-solid alibi that holds up against the physical facts, DNA exclusion, meaning their genes do not match the samples from the crime scene, digital footprints that back up their story completely, or passing a lie detector test. Sheriff Nanos never specified which of those boxes was checked. He just put out a press release. He did not stand in front of microphones to walk us through the hard proof that exonerated the family. He did not say, "Here are Tommaso's phone logs proving he was home at 2 in the morning." He did not say, "The crime scene DNA definitely rules out Cioni." He did not say, "We caught Tommaso on tape somewhere else." He just said, "Cleared," and he labeled it heartless to think anything else. Two things can be true at the exact same time. The family might genuinely be innocent, giving cops a reason to look elsewhere, and we can still be in the dark about what that innocence is built on, simply because the police do not owe the public a detailed roadmap. But silence is not transparency, and a vehicle still gathering dust in a forensics lab does not vibe with a family that is totally in the clear and free from tough questions. There is a laundry list of questions the internet refuses to drop, and they stick around not because the web is out for blood. They stick around because nobody has given a straight answer yet. Who knew Nancy's schedule well enough to be sure she would be home solo on a Saturday night? Who knew exactly where she lived? The same address that popped up in Google Trends searches around Tucson way back in June of 2025, 7 months before she vanished. Who was aware that the doorbell cam was not backing up to the cloud? Who had a key or a way inside that house? Who lives roughly 4 miles down the road? Who was the last soul to step through that front door before the masked intruder showed up? These queries do not prove a thing. They do not prove guilt. They do not even point a finger at one specific guy. But they are the exact questions any real detective would have to tackle. And the word cleared does not answer a single one of them. Cleared just means, we are pretty sure this person is not our guy. But then that impounded car whispers, we are not finished yet. Now, let's look at the flip side. But I want to level with you. because the counter-argument has some real weight and you deserve to hear it out. Here is the hard evidence that pushes back against the theory of family involvement: the DNA. Investigators have confirmed that biological samples recovered straight from the crime scene, taken from both the gloves discovered 2 miles from Nancy's place and from inside the house itself, belonged to an unidentified male, a man whose genetic markers do not hit in the national FBI system, and critically, a man whose DNA does not match a single soul in the Guthrie family. If Tommaso was actually the one behind this crime, his DNA would almost certainly be painted all over that scene. The very first step for detectives would be comparing his DNA to the crime scene samples. If it matched, he would be behind bars. But he walks free, and Google Trends reveals searches for that address starting a full 7 months before the abduction. That timeline actually helps the family, because why would an insider with keys and address knowledge need 7 months to plan? It represents a massive amount of unnecessary homework for anyone who already had an all-access pass. The family has been totally transparent, putting up a $1 million reward for information bringing Nancy home. Savannah even dropped her Olympic coverage to be here. That is not how a cover-up looks, especially with the logistics involved. You would need Sione as an accomplice, ransom notes sent to the press, and a month of fake grief. It just defies logic. Hoaxes happen, but they demand a level of perfect deception that most people cannot maintain under this microscope. The honest truth is this: any evidence pointing toward the family is entirely circumstantial and speculative. On the other hand, the evidence that clears the family, particularly the DNA analysis, is forensic and rock solid, and that contrast is crucial. So where exactly does that leave us? 2 journalists name Sione as the suspect, the sheriff clears him, and an insider says their theory stands firm. The vehicle suggests the probe is ongoing, while the DNA evidence screams that an outsider was in that home. The open questions prove nothing is solved, and Nancy Guthrie is 84 years old with bad mobility. She cannot last 24 hours without her medication, and we are now 27 days past her last sighting. The FBI is running genetic genealogy on DNA found at the scene, while agents scrub Walmart backpack sales in Arizona. They are hitting every gun shop in the area to cross-reference with the doorbell camera footage. There are tens of thousands of tips and a $100,000 federal bounty. The case is hot and the car is held. And Nancy Guthrie remains missing. Perhaps it is a family member, though the science suggests otherwise. Maybe the answer is a total stranger, a predator who researched the family, tracked Nancy's routine, and struck without leaving a matchable trace. Or maybe, and this is why cops keep circling back to the house, the answer is someone in the gray zone. Someone who knew the entry codes, and someone who knew exactly where the camera blind spots were. Someone who knew the address too early, a person in their orbit with inside knowledge who slipped through the cracks. We simply don't know. The detectives don't know. And Nancy Guthrie is still somewhere out there. Everything she needed to survive was still inside that house. Everything except Nancy herself. At 1:47 inches the morning, her smart doorbell camera went offline. It detected motion but recorded nothing, because the cloud backup subscription had lapsed. At 2:28 a.m., her heart monitor app lost connection to her phone. By Sunday morning, she missed her weekly church livestream, a ritual she had never once skipped. Search data later revealed that someone had been looking up her home address online as far back as June 2025, 7 months before she disappeared. When her family arrived at noon and found the house empty, what began as a worried welfare check became a full criminal investigation within hours. Forensic evidence confirmed she did not leave on her own. DNA recovered at the scene belonged to an unidentified male with no match in any national database. When someone you love suddenly stops responding, even once trust that feeling. A single missed sign, acted on in time, can save a life. Check in on the elderly people in your life. A missed call, a skipped routine, or an unanswered door is never too small a reason to reach out or raise an alarm. Review your home security settings today. Make sure cameras are actively recording and backing up to the cloud. A camera that stores nothing protects no one. If you notice someone paying unusual attention to your address, your schedule, or your daily routine, report it to law enforcement immediately. Do not wait. Stay engaged with your community. Share missing persons alerts. Speak up when something feels wrong. In this case, over 10,000 tips came in, every one of them matters. If you have any information about Nancy Guthrie, contact the FBI or the Pima County Sheriff's Department. A $100,000 federal reward is available for information leading to her safe return. The FBI is actively running genetic genealogy analysis on DNA found at the scene. Investigators are cross-referencing store records, camera footage, and every tip received. Her family posted a $1 million reward. Her daughter left her professional obligations behind to be present. This is a family that has not given up for a single day. Investigators have not stopped. Journalists have not stopped asking questions. The community has not stopped watching. That collective attention is exactly what cases like this need. True safety is not just technology or law enforcement. It is neighbors who notice, families who check in, and communities that refuse to look away. No one should vanish without the world demanding answers. Nancy Guthrie deserves to be found. Her story deserves to be told until she is. Nancy Guthrie is still out there. Her family is still searching. And as long as this case remains open, so is our responsibility to keep her name alive. Nancy Guthrie, 84 years old, sharp, independent, and full of life, vanished from her Tucson home on the night of the 31st of January 2026, and the world has not stopped searching since. She had just come home from dinner with her daughter and son-in-law. Her car was in the garage. Her phone, wallet, hearing aid, and medication were all left behind.